once we identify the need for change, or when we really feel that it's time to change, what are some tactics or strategies to embrace change and transformation effectively?
Okay. After a lot of reflection and going through all the changes, and I asked myself, how do I do all this? And so it started to come to me, and I formalized it in a model that the first thing is important is to believe that you can do this. And that involves your mindset. That involves your ability to understand that you have the power to make changes. And you may have to modify it, but the deep feeling that I can do this, the world can be a better place because of my contribution. That is where I thought was the most important thing at that particular time. I also have been informed by the model that was created in the 80s by Dr. William Bridges. And the transition model that he talks about is that when external changes hit us, each individual has a psychological internal response. May vary from individual to individual, but it happens. And change creates a process of mourning because you no longer have a reality that you know. So believing that you can get out of this becomes very important. The second thing that happens is that you need to have self-awareness and you have to have acceptance. If you don't become aware that something is happening and don't accept it, you're not going to be able to make the change. And awareness also is who you are. There are certain traits in every human being that are very well defined. They're hardwired in your brain. And who you are is probably not going to change. But you have the ability to modify behaviors. You have the ability to make choices about how you go about doing things, and this is totally under your control. I will never be an introverted person, okay? I know this about myself, but I can learn to be reflective. I can learn to stay back. I am always going to be big picture. You know, I see possibilities and, you know, optimism, but I can learn to get the evidence. I can learn to get the data. So we're not going to change who we are, but we can change and modify the behavior. And that is the beauty of growth and development. And that's why the second step in the model is your self-awareness. There are tools, there are processes, there's a lot of things that can help you accept and understand who you are with your great gifts, with your limitations. And that also leads you into the next step, which is support. You are not going to do everything by yourself, and you may not have all the skills you need to do what you want to do. But the connection of other people, the people who can support you, and you look for that, it's key. And that's why clarity of the vision is important, because it informs the support you need. If you know where you're going, you know who needs to help you, for what, and how. And so these are the steps in the model. And the last step, which I call the tactical step, it's really putting together your belief, your desire to do it, your understanding of yourself, your skills, where do you get a support? Once you have that foundation, then the last step, which is more tactical, is the one that you put a plan together, and this plan can be enacted by yourself, by your team. So it's kind of the foundation of major changes is what I call the base model for change. You believe, you become aware and accept, you seek the support, and you enact a plan that can happen. Now, the other piece that is important in understanding the model, it's also that as you create a vision for your future, you also need to realize that your past could be a block holding you to what was. It's not that you're going to deny the past. It's not that you're going to say it's all bad, but eventually you have to say, what I knew, what I was comfortable with is no longer here, and I have to let it go. Once you make that decision, honor your past, but let it go, it allows you to start your journey. And as I said before, change is not easy, and there's going to be a time of confusion in between. I call the in-between state. Bridges call it the neutral zone. But all of this is what we are going through right now. And that's what I like Lesya's ideas of innovation and being part of change, because in this uncertain period is where most of the innovation and creativity is possible. Think about Zoom. I have a wonderful experience. I live in a retirement community, and a large population of the independent living here are in their 90s. We're not in assisted living. We have our own homes. You can see my home behind me. But many of my colleagues, many of my neighbors are in their 90s. With this isolation, we started Zoom, and I have 7 people over 90 who now uses Zoom every week. We taught them, we created this community, and it's lots of fun. And so you see possibilities in change at any time if you can put your mind to it and believe you can do it. I have a wonderful story. One of my neighbors who told me that her grandson said, "Grandma, I haven't seen you in months." And Grandma said, "Why don't we Zoom?" And the young man said, "Zoom, Grandma." And she said, "I do it all the time." And so the joy in her face when she told us that story was just wonderful. Another woman is playing Yahtzee with her family in England once a week through Zoom. We have our book club through Zoom. So you see that at any age, in any circumstances, if you believe and you can move forward and you can use technology and innovation, it becomes part of possibilities. And this is what I love change so much. It's not easy, can be painful, but it can be done if you believe in it.
This is so great to hear that tech innovation are impacting positively people's life of all the community. This is so great. So I wanted to come back to your first step in the model, which is belief. Knowing what you can do something, you can change. And I think this can be extremely difficult, and especially in the situation when a person might feel out of control. Is there anything that can help us to overcome frustration and embrace this work with belief more effectively? I know that we might not have the response, but maybe from your experience, is there anything that can help us?
It will be different for any individual because we are all different and we all think different. We all respond to challenges differently. But part of the belief situation for me is that change causes stress. And if we give in that everything is wrong, everything is difficult, we start creating waves in our own minds and hearts that there is no hope. So for me, the technique that is most important is first to realize that there are ways that I can relieve stress. And one of the simple ways, it's breathe. Just take deep breaths. When you see this fear, when you see this doubting, when you see all of that, take a breath, take a deep breath, relax, and let it out, because inside between your brain and your vein, everything physiological change within you. So I think part of the belief is that you need to acknowledge that there may be some difficult times. You need to acknowledge that sometimes I'm not going to believe it can be done. But ultimately, if you want to move forward. Now, I know that there's isolation causes problems. I know that fear is present. And I know sometimes people get depressed, which now we're moving into mental health. But I think there are other things that you think it is depression, but it's just the isolation, is the fact that you don't get out from doing things. The other thing for me in terms of believing is that get out and connect to nature. I think there's such a power of renewal in nature that just going out and looking at a tree, like it's cold here in the US today, but it's a blue sky. I was out and I looked at the trees, I looked at the blue sky, and even the American election today became less stressful for me because I can believe we have the ability to move. Now, again, it's not easy, but there are many ways. The breathing, physical exercise, connecting with nature, all of this. And if you are so inclined, learn a little bit about meditation, learn a little bit about yoga. All of these processes help you redirect your mind for more hope and for more positive. I hope that, it's some techniques, and also there are exercises and different things you can do to free yourself from those barriers. And part of this sometimes is letting go of the past, because that could become a hurdle for you. And I don't believe I can do this because I didn't have the good experience before. It's a new world, and you can create that. It's not easy to believe the world is going to be better. And I am not going to minimize that there's a lot of pain and a lot of people that are paralyzed right now. But if you can find a glimpse of hope in your own self, that there is possibility ahead of you, that start moving you in a more positive way. My heart goes out for people that are suffering in terms of losing jobs, having instability, having fear, having death in their families because of COVID. All of these are so difficult, but you also see the glimpse of hope in each individual that can overcome this and continue to move. I hope this helps. I don't have a pat answer, but I think that the human spirit is very strong. And as you believe in it, you can continue to move ahead in that more spiritual way that we all have the ability to do. And also the connection with the world. We're not alone. We're all connected, and we need to believe that there's good in the world. And that's what keeps me going. There is good in the world. We don't hear a lot about it, but I think that if we look for it, we see hope and we see goodness.
Yes, and also have a positive mindset and positive mood. It also helps to stay calm, yes, in this very difficult moment. Tiza, what are the projects you are currently working on?
Right now, because of, again, the challenges of COVID, I have started a online course. I have started writing a 4-week course that's going to deal with the base model for change, and people will do that. I'm thinking about launching it in late December, early January. So we will hopefully do some marketing for that. And also, again, because of things continue to change and the holidays are coming and all of that, I'm in the process of working on a webinar that's going to be open to the public, that's going to talk about how to succeed in times of uncertainty. So again, 5 steps, some of the things that I talked here, but perhaps with more workbooks and handouts that people can download from my website. So this is something that I am starting to work for a December release. So these are the 2 big ones. And then the book probably will be early 2021, which is going a little deeper and sharing the story of a client of mine who went through the base model. And so I am going to go deeper in her experience of difficulties and victories in making a very, very difficult change in her life. And those are the big projects. I still have some coaching clients. And part of it also is relaxing a little bit too. I had a very difficult 2020, and I think I need to give myself the right to just some days just watch a cute movie on television, and that will be enough for me that day. So part of my growth in my ability to change in this new stage of my life.
Wonderful. And where people can find out more about you and connect with you?
The easiest thing to connect with me is go to my website, www.pyleconsultinggroup.com. And there's a way to leave me messages. Also, it leads you into a page that is more dedicated to individual coaching, which is your path to success. And I have blogs there. I have different things. So there are 2 ways to get hold of me. Either yourpathtosuccess.com takes me directly into the personal coaching site, or www.pyleconsultinggroup.com. That takes you more into the broader scope of the the offerings that we have. And my books are all available on Amazon.com. And there, as you mentioned in the beginning, there's the first one, which is more into my transformation using the gastric bypass surgery to regain my health. There is a workbook that talks about the base model, and it's really a workbook and has questions, and it's meant for people to write on and to go through the steps of the process with one change in mind. And that's what I ask people at the beginning. Write down what you want to change and work only on this, because that's where you're going to have the best benefit from that. And the quick ebook is just my journey. And it was interesting because my husband was part of that before he died, and he was happy, and he was so cute because I told him, I said, make sure, because we're telling our story. And then he said, you're not going to put my name on, are you? I said, no, dear, but my name is there, and I talk about my husband. And he laughed and said, oh yeah, people know it's me. I said, yes, and that's why I need your permission to do this. And you know, it was so good that we published that, because he was my best proofreader. Nothing came out of this house. He was one of the best proofreaders I had. And so it's really special for me that he was part of that publication and shared our story. And it was a good story. So those are the 3 books I have, and more to come. I really want to continue to share what I learned with as many people as possible.
Yes, and technology can help you to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Learning, learning, learning. It's interesting, as long as you can keep your ability to be curious and to learn and to be open, you will continue to change and you continue to grow. And that is where I feel so good. And, you know, to me, age is a number. And I feel so grateful that I have been able to keep this positive outlook and hope that others can see my experience and know what's possible. And I'm more than open and would be more than happy to engage with people. And there's a way, again, in my website to engage with me through the web pages. So I do hope people do take me up in my desire to share what I know and ask any questions that you may have.
Okay, so I would like to conclude this wonderful conversation with inspiring words from your book. You can create your future and be who you really want to be, doing what you really want to do. But it takes time, effort, and commitment to move, sometimes relentlessly and not always swiftly, through this phase of your transition. Thank you so much, Tiza, for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me and allowing me to share this time with you